Welcome back, Java programmers. In the Java video tutorial number 8, I discussed counter-controlled loop. In this video, we will talk about Sentinel-Controlled loop. But first, let me give you the idea of what the difference between the two loops is. In the counter-controlled loop, we used three things. They are initialized variable, condition, and increment or decrement. Also, in counter-controlled loop, the number of repetition is known, meaning to say, everybody knows when the loop stops. Well, simply because there is a counter that is initialized to a specific value, and when the counter reaches a specific value, the loop stops. But in Sentinel-controlled loop, we don't need a counter. What we need is a sentinel value. But what is a sentinel value then? Sentinel value is like a dummy value, a flag, or a signal we give to the computer so that when it is encountered, the loop stops. In other words, in Sentinel-controlled loop, the number of repetition is unknown. So the number of repetition could be 5 or 100 or 215 maybe. No one knows when the sentinel value will be encountered by the computer, simply because the sentinel value is entered by the user. So no one else but the user knows when the loop stops. Okay, enough of the introduction. Let the action commence. Now, to make this video as simple as possible, I just want to make a Java program that would keep asking the user to input an integer, for example, and when the user enters a sentinel value, for example a 0, the loop stops. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm going to create first a scanner object, of course, because we're gonna ask the user to input an integer as long as the user wants. Of course, we have to import the scanner package, scanner class, so we have to specify the package. Okay, there you go. And then I'm gonna ask the user, so I'm gonna display a message that says enter an integer. Sorry. And then after displaying that, so the user shall input by having this statement here. Let me call number. Let me call it a number. Okay, and then we're gonna use next int method. Okay, now this is what I want the user to do over and over and over until such time the user enters a sentinel value, which in this case I want 0 to be the sentinel. So when the user enters 0, the loop stops. So I tell the user, I inform the user that 0 is the sentinel value to stop the loop, to stop the input. So these two lines here are the ones that should be repeated over and over until such time 0 is entered by the user. Okay, so in other words, these two lines must be inside the loop. Okay, so I should put them inside curly braces of the while loop. Now again, make sure that your code is indented properly, so to make your code much more readable. Okay, now what is the condition here? So the thing is, the logic is, these two lines are executed by the computer as long as the user wants. I mean, as long as the sentinel value, which is 0, is not entered by the user. The user enters a value, any integer, as long as the user wants. So if the user doesn't want to input an integer anymore, the user simply presses 0. So what should be the condition then? What should be the while condition then? So let's analyze. So as long as the user enters not a 0, these two lines here are executed. So that's our condition. While the input, which is the number, is not equal to 0, therefore these two lines are executed. Now I should put the declaration out of the loop because here I'm using number. So at this point, number is unknown. That's why there's a red line here, right? So I should introduce number first to the computer, and then I use it. So remember, before you use a variable, before I use this variable number, I should declare it first, okay? So that computer recognizes it when you use it the first time. So if I declare number on top, I should not declare number again somewhere, okay? So now again, the underline is still there, meaning to say you are comparing 0 with nothing, meaning to say, what is the value of the variable number? Nothing, right? No value at all. So we cannot do that in programming. We cannot compare something with nothing. Okay, so we have to initialize. To fix that, we have to initialize the variable number to any number. Okay, meaning to say I can initialize it to 0. Well, if I initialize number to 0, so this Boolean expression will return false. So if this Boolean expression returns false, it will not go inside the body to execute these statements. So if I run this code, nothing is happening. Nothing will happen, right? No output at all because the condition of the while returns false. And since nothing follows the while loop, well, nothing happens. So remember, if you want to run your code, if you want to execute the body of the loop, make sure that you initialize the variable, and the loop is Sentinel-Controlled. Make sure that you initialize the variable used in the condition, not to the Sentinel value. So if the Sentinel value is 0, don't initialize your variable to 0. If your Sentinel value is -999, so therefore, so again, if your Sentinel value is -999, do not initialize your variable used in the condition to -999, simply because the condition, the Boolean expression, will return false. And if it returns false, it will not go inside the body, so the body won't be executed. And since I don't have anything more that follows the while loop, then nothing happens. So there's no output displayed. So as simple as that. That's a simple rule that if you want to follow. Okay, so you can, if the Sentinel value is 0, so I shall not initialize my variable that is used in the condition to 0. So I can initialize it to any value but 0, but the Sentinel value. So let's go to the evaluation of the while condition. Let's evaluate the Boolean expression. So number is equal to 1, so is 1 not equal to 0? Which is true. meaning to say this Boolean expression returns true. And if it does, it goes inside the body, which has two lines. The first line is the printing of this string literal, which is the message enter an integer 0 to stop, and the user is able to input. And whatever the input is, it is stored in number in the memory location which we renamed number. Okay, so let's see if there's an output for this. Okay, so there is, and the message is displayed. So if I press 0, the loop stops. Let's run it again. Let me input some numbers here. So let's say 1. Oops, see, I am asked again. I am the user, and I am asked again by the computer to input another integer and inform me that if I want to stop, I simply press 0. If I want to input another number, so I can, right? I am allowed another number. So do you know when I stop the loop? Do you know when the loop stops? Only the user knows when the loop stops, because I'm the one who's gonna press the signal. I'm the one who's gonna press the dummy value. I'm the one who's gonna press the flag, or simply the sentinel value. Okay, so if I press 0, which is the sentinel value, I stop entering an integer. Okay, so simply this is the Sentinel-Controlled loop. Okay, now let's do something else. Okay, let's get to the next level. Now let's say I want to add all the inputs, all the integer that are entered by the user. So all the integers here that are entered by the user, such as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I want to add them. And then after pressing the sentinel value, which is 0, the sum is displayed. So how am I going to do that? So I will be needing another variable, and that variable holds the sum of all the integers entered by the user. So let me declare another one. Let me call it sum. And of course, to clean the memory, I should initialize it to 0 because we're doing addition here. So we're trying to make sure that we get the exact result at the end. So again, by initializing sum to 0, it's like I am cleaning the memory location that I reserved, that I use in this particular addition here. Okay, so next, after printing or after entering the integer, that value must be added to the sum. So how can I do that? So in that case, in the previous series of numbers entered by the user, the first value was 1. So 1 must be added to the sum. So how can I do that? So sum equals sum plus the number. And the first number that is assigned to number was 1, if you go back to the output a while ago, right? The first value, the first integer that was entered by the user was 1. So 1, which is the value of number, plus 0, which is the initial value of sum, so that is 1. So 1 is assigned using assignment operator, assigned to sum. So by this time, after the first input, the first loop, the value of sum is 1 based on the input, the first input by the user, first input done by the user or entered by the user. So nothing follows this statement. So where should the execution go? Where should the sequence go? Where should the what's the next execution be? The next execution is the evaluation of the Boolean expression or the while condition. So, is the number which is entered by the user not equal to 0? Yes, it's not equal to 0 because the number, again, the number entered by the user was 1. So, is 1 not equal to 0? Yes, it's not equal to 0. So again, it goes inside the body, and the body has 3 statements. So the computer executes the first statement, which is the printing of the message, and the user enters. In this case, this time the user enters 2. Okay, so the 2, which is the value of number, is added to the sum, which is currently equal to 1. So 1 plus 2, so 3 is assigned to sum. So by this time, the second loop, sum is 3. Okay, and so nothing follows. It goes back to the evaluation of the while condition. So the input was 2, so 2 not equal to 0. Again, it returns true. So it goes inside the body, which has 3 statements. So the computer executes one by one, one after the other. And so the loop continues until the user enters 0. So this is the loop where the user enters 0. So again, the 0 is entered. So the 0 is assigned to number. So number is added to the sum, and that's the new value of sum. And nothing follows that assignment operations. So it goes back to the evaluation of the while condition. So since number is the last number entered by the user, since 0 is the last number entered by the user, so this Boolean expression returns false. And so the body will not be executed anymore. And since nothing follows while loop, the program ends. So let's see. Wait. After the loop, we shall display the sum, right? So let me say sum of all the integers. So we shall display the sum before I forget. So the sum is in sum, which is the variable we declared to hold the sum of all the integers of all the inputs entered by the user. Now, if I run this again, we shall see the sum after the 0 is entered. So let's input another batch of numbers here, another batch of integers. So let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I decide to end the loop. So by pressing 0, I shall see what? I shall see 15. Yes, indeed, it's 15. So that's how you do the Sentinel-Controlled loop. This time we are not using a counter. What we are using is the Sentinel value that sends signal to the computer, so the computer would know when to stop the loop. So in this loop, Sentinel-Controlled loop, no one knows when the loop stops, only the user. Okay, the number of repetition is unknown. Okay, let's change. This time, let's try to change the Sentinel value. Let's say -9. Okay. So -9 is now our Sentinel value to stop the loop. Let's try to run this code one more time. So if I input 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and oh, wait a minute, I forgot to change. Let me stop the program. Let me change the message here so that the user would know how to stop the loop. Okay, Sorry about that. So let me run it again. This time the message is now correct. So if I press 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and if I want to stop it, I press -9. So shall I see 15 still? Let's see. It should be 15, right? Because 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 will give us, we will get 15. We get 15, right? Yes, but the problem is it's only 6. Why? Because the Sentinel, which is -9, is also added to the sum, which is wrong. So in other words, we should only do the addition if and only if the number is not -9. We only do the addition if and only if the input, which is in number, is not the Sentinel value. So how can we fix the problem? How can we tell the computer that, hey, do this addition only if and only if the number is not the Sentinel value? Okay? Did you say if statement? Did you say we must use if statement and put it inside the body of the if? Now if you did, you were right. So I should put this statement, this addition statement, inside if, because this addition should not be done all the time. This addition statement must only be done if the input is not the Sentinel value. Okay, so I should put that in an if statement. So, and the condition for the if statement is number. Again, this statement should only be done if number is not equal to the Sentinel value, which in this case is equal to -9. Okay, again, let's fix the indentation. So go to source menu and correct indentation here. Okay, so let's try to run this code again. I hope the output by this time will be correct. So again, let me input 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and to stop the loop, I input -9. So the sum must be by now it should be equal to 15 because we added if statement and we put the addition statement inside that. Yes, it is now correct. So in other words, -9 is not added to the sum simply because of this if statement here. I put it inside this line, this statement, this addition statement will only be executed by the computer if this Boolean expression here returns true. Okay, but if the input, which is in number, is -9 and -9 is not equal, is -9 not equal to -9? Of course they are equal. So this Boolean expression returns false. And if this returns false, this body of if, this statement, addition statement, will no longer be executed. Will never be executed. Okay, because the if condition returns false. Okay, and then after that nothing follows, so it gets out of the loop, and then there's one statement follows the loop, and that is the printing of the sum. That's why we see 15 here, because 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 excluding -9 is 15. Okay, so this how Sentinel-Controlled loop works. This is how it works. Okay, so now you know the difference between counter-controlled and Sentinel-Controlled loops. Now again, let's review. Let's recap. Okay, in counter control, there are three things we need to use. These are the initialized variable, condition, and increment or decrement. In counter control, the number of repetition is known. Okay, simply because there's a counter that counts, and if the counter reaches the value, then it stops. So if you specify the counter will count from 1 to 5, then if the counter becomes 6, the loop stops. Okay, so everybody knows the number of repetition is known. But in Sentinel, the number of repetition is unknown simply because only the user knows, okay? But the rest, no one knows except the users how many repetition, okay? We don't know when the Sentinel value is entered by the user. Only the user knows. No one knows except the user, okay? So the number of repetition in Sentinel-controlled loop, the number of repetition is unknown, except of course for the user, only because the user is the one using it. So the user knows when he or she enters the Sentinel. Only the user, no one else but the user. Okay, I hope this simple code would help you in so many ways. Till next time, bye bye.